What's going on YouTube? So atop the Mercedes and BMW sedan lineups are the legendary S-Class and 7 Series models. But space is also a luxury, so nowadays people want SUV alternatives. Those alternatives are these two ultra-luxury SUVs, the Mercedes GLS and the BMW X7. They are both large and in charge, with bold designs, refined driving experiences, and luxury features that will wow. But which of these two is the best option for your nearly six-figure investment? Stay tuned because that's what we're about to find out. Now, even though money probably isn't much of a consideration for those shopping in this segment, we will start off the video by breaking down the pricing of these two quickly. Beginning with the refreshed BMW X7, we have the xDrive 40i model, which is the mainstream version most people pick. So that makes for an additional $13,500 including destination. The total is just over $92,000. Previously, the GLS 450 4MATIC had the exact same starting price, but for 2023, its pricing has increased with a couple extra standard features. After adding in the equivalent options, we arrive at a total price of $94,215. But getting started with the actual meat and potatoes of this video, let's dig into the exteriors. Like I mentioned in the intro, both of them have a commanding presence, although the individual design elements diverge quite a bit. The GLS continues with the more modest and elegant front design, even when it has the AMG line package like this one does. For 2023, the X7 adopts BMW's latest and somewhat controversial front design elements, and it looks more aggressive with its darkened trim. Its new split design headlights also stand out from the more conservative Mercedes, although both are functionally adaptive full LEDs. Now heading to the sides, you can immediately see that both of them are quite large, and their overall designs play into that. Standard wheel options are 20-inch alloys, and both of them offer many choices ranging up to 23 inches. The BMW has a more dynamic look, with a strong body line that carries from the side into the rear. As far as the designs back here, both look expensive and carry on the same themes from the front and sides. The taillights are of course fully LED, and you also have exposed wipers and dual exhaust outlets. Tow ratings are 7,500 and 7,700 pounds respectively, which is less than the 5% difference required to score a point. Now heading on to some of the other features, both of them have heated, power folding, auto-dimming mirrors with blind spot monitoring. And both of them also come equipped with all the latest safety systems, including automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, auto high beam headlights, and highway driving assistance. Finally, when it comes to the warranties, both have 4-year 50,000 mile basic and powertrain warranties, but only the BMW comes with 3 years of complimentary maintenance. So far this has been neck and neck. But the real important things are inside the cabin and out on the road, so let's move on. So walking up to the vehicles, both of course have smart entry and high quality key fobs. BMW has begun putting remote start on the fob itself, while Mercedes relies on an app and subscription service. But once we actually open up the doors and view the interiors, they both have a lot of wow factor. Besides the placements of the screens, the designs are quite different, with the BMW having black Sensafin leatherette seating, and the Mercedes beige MB-Tex leatherette seating. For 2023, the X7 adds a lot of quilting and stitching to the standard seat, which looks very premium. Both seats themselves have more ways of adjustment than one would know what to do with, plus memory, heating, and ventilation. Massaging is available on both of them, but not equipped on these examples. Once inside, we can talk about the cabin materials as a whole. Unsurprisingly, both of these two use top-notch selections throughout, including leather over most dash surfaces, genuine open-pore wood trims, and real aluminum elements. The Mercedes' beautifully detailed speaker grilles and BMW's glass shifter in particular stand out. So after starting them up, we are greeted by 12.3-inch digital gauge clusters. Both are bright, have good graphics, and tons of customizability. But only the X7 includes a head-up display as standard equipment. And coming back to the steering wheels, both are nicely finished, heated, and power adjusting. Plus the armrests are also heated. Okay, so next up, let's dig into the major area of interior storage. German automakers are notorious for not wanting each other to get any advantage, which is probably why the storage solutions are oddly similar. Both have good-sized consoles and front bins with wireless phone chargers. Initially, you might not even notice where the shifters are in these SUVs because they're pretty discreet. But once you do find them, both models have 360-degree camera systems, with the X7 having the cool and helpful 3D view. Now let's go ahead and check out the audio systems. Overall, both sound great, and there is not a significant difference between them to my lay ears. There is a significant difference between the climate controls. Not in the number of zones, which are an exceptional 5 in each, but in the fact that the X7 has moved its controls to the touchscreen exclusively. The physical buttons in the GLS are easier to use without taking your eyes off the road. But focusing in on the infotainment systems themselves, we have a 12.3-inch display in the Benz and a 14.9-inch display in the Beamer. That computes to almost 20% more screen real estate. And the X7 also has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which the GLS hasn't added yet. Finally, the last things to mention up front are the auto-dimming mirrors and large panoramic sunroofs. Now, the point of buying an SUV this large is to have plenty of space and luxury for the whole fam, so let's check out the rear areas. First off, the numbers don't lie. As you can pretty clearly see, the GLS does have a legroom advantage of about 11%. Headroom is very similar between the two. Now for luxury features, both have a climate panel for the next 2 zones of temperature, heated rear seats, and far more plugs than needed for the 2 people occupying the power-adjusting captain's chairs. There are also vents on both sides of the occupants and power sunshades. Let's move on to the third rows. Now, of course, they're not going to coddle the occupants quite as much as the second rows, but they are still nice. Space is pretty good even for an adult to fit, with nearly equal legroom figures, but the GLS having a 6% headroom advantage. There is a reason for that advantage, though, and that's the fact that the X7 has a dedicated sunroof for the third row occupants instead. Both models have a 5th zone of climate controls, vents, USB ports, and heated third row seats. Turning around to the tailgates, both models have hands-free power ones. And once they open up, you'll find generous amounts of space. Interestingly, the GLS has a pretty large advantage behind the third row. They equal out behind the second rows, and with all the rear seats folded, is the BMW that has the larger maximum. The GLS also has a spare tire, which our BMW does not, and both of their third rows power fold. Under the hoods and out on the road, you get the sense that they copied each other's homework, since they have come to remarkably similar solutions. Both are using 3-liter turbo inline 6-cylinders, paired with 48-volt mild hybrid systems. Power outputs are a bit different, although not by a meaningful amount. The biggest takeaway is that both of them scoot, with sub 6-second 0 to 60s out of large luxury 3-rows. Alright. Wow, feels pretty quick.
Yeah.
So this is the 40i model, so this is the base engine, but that's not to say that you don't have plenty of power on board. So as far as the engine situation, what you'll be looking at is a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder. That's going to also be paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system, and your total output is going to be 375 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, which is up 40 horsepower from last year.
Wow. Yeah. It's just such a strong motor, yeah.
Pulls really strong.
Nice.
And there we are at 60 miles per hour. So like we mentioned at various points throughout this review, we have the GLS 450. That's going to be the standard engine option on board, but it's far from basic. It's actually a very advanced system. It's going to be a 3-liter turbo inline 6-cylinder paired with Mercedes EQ Boost, which is basically a mild hybrid system, which, as Boost implies, does boost performance slightly, but it is mostly focused on powering advanced auto start-stop and boosting efficiency. Let's also talk about ride quality. Both are riding on adaptive air suspensions, and because of that, they feel like riding on a cloud. Rarely do either of them allow any road imperfections to reach the occupants, but even if they do, their structures feel rock solid.
I want to take a second here to just talk about your ride quality, because this is a BMW X7 after all, so I don't want to leave you in suspense for too long about how this vehicle rides, because it really is one of the best riding vehicles money can buy. When we got in this car this morning, took it off the lot, we were like, woo, this is so smooth. I mean, you hit a bump and you're like, what bump? I mean, it just fully soaks it up, and it just reminds you of how comfortable certain levels of vehicles can be. I mean, this is just incredible that you can have a car this smooth. So every person in this vehicle is going to be awesomely comfortable,
right,
even in the third row.
Exactly, and we don't have the super upsized wheels on board. We've got just kind of the normal run-of-the-mill 21s. We've got a full air suspension. It really combines to make this just fantastic riding.
But guys, let's talk about your ride quality, because we haven't mentioned that up until this point, and I think that's a big, strong element for the GLS. Guys, this is one of the best riding vehicles money can buy. It does a phenomenal job. That's what any luxury 3-row should do a good job at, and this just knocks it out of the park. Incredibly comfortable suspension. We do have an air suspension on this particular model. You can definitely feel that. When you hit a bump, it's like, what bump? Nothing came into the cabin. The seats are also pretty comfortable. I imagine they might even get more comfortable if you get like higher grade leather and stuff. So certainly just an incredibly, incredibly premium driving experience.
Despite surprising speed, both were designed with smoothness at the core. Their 8 and 9-speed automatics are some of the best in the business, with imperceptible shifts and dual personalities when using sport mode. Now, as far as other driving dynamics, both of them have enough German athleticism baked into them that they feel smaller than they are and handle well. Just kind of getting on this on-ramp. It feels pretty balanced. Of course, there's going to be a decent amount of body roll still, but like I said, throttle response, steering as well, is going to firm up. I also want to talk about their auto start-stop systems, which are powered by the mild hybrid setup. Previously, Mercedes had a large lead on this front, but for 2023, BMW has closed the gap considerably. That being said, the seamless Mercedes EQ boost system is still the industry leader in our experience. And if you were paying attention to the tachometer, you notice it did go down to 0 well before I came completely to a stop. That's part of that EQ boost system. It's going to turn off the engine. Anytime you have low loads, even if you're at high speeds, perhaps going down a hill or something like that, it's going to get that engine off. And the mild hybrid system allows it to restart super seamlessly.
Yeah.
It's outrageously smooth. It's really hard to even put into words. We've talked about this in some past Mercedes reviews, but this system, if you're the type of person that, complains about your auto start-stop system, you're always turning it off, this is one you're not going to notice at all. There's no reason that you would ever turn it off because you don't even know when the engine's on. Pinnacle luxury vehicles also need to be quiet, and they both deliver library quiet cabins even at highway speeds.
Well, that's a pretty laughable reading right there. 51.9 decibels. Incredibly quiet, guys.
Yeah, wow.
That's... I don't know if... I think we've had one test a little bit lower than that, and that might have been in the Mercedes S-Class, so... It goes without saying, it's going to be an incredibly luxurious experience in terms of your ride quality and the noise entering into the cabin. It's basically non-existent.
Due to technical difficulties, we were not able to get an official sound level reading for the GLS. So you'll just have to take our word for it and know that it is just as quiet as the amazingly hushed X7. Finally, as far as fuel economy, the BMW delivers a 2 mpg combined advantage. Before we conclude this comparison, let's revisit the price difference between these two. Because money matters less at this price point, the $2,190 gap will equate to a 1/4 point per thousand or a 1/2 point. So there you have it. These two flagship luxury SUVs fought a great fight. The points gap is mostly due to smart use of one-upmanship with the X7's refresh, because ultimately both are spectacular luxury SUVs that largely match each other on the most important things. A lot of the choice will come down to personal preference, which we want to hear from you in the comment section below. While you're down there telling us which luxury SUV you prefer, go ahead and click the subscribe button as well, since that helps us show you guys all the latest vehicles hitting the market. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.